started, I'll share my screen. And Monica and Stephanie are already aware, but I might have some Wi-Fi issues today. If that happens, just bear with us. I hope you also cannot hear that my neighbor has just decided to cut his grass. Perfect timing. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Today we're going to be talking about mindfulness and the intro to mindfulness. We thought that this would be a great series to start out with, especially since everything is constantly changing with the university and with COVID-19. And what better way to kind of get into the semester and kind of relieve some stress and figure out ways to do that. So I'm Kristen. I am a wellness coordinator for Healthy UNCG. I'm a second year MPH student. And we have...
I'm Monica. I am a first year MPH student. I am also a wellness coordinator.
And we just want to say, if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to unmute yourself, put them in the chat. This is very informal. Just hop on and say whatever you want to say or ask whatever you want to ask, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. Stephanie is also our lovely director, and she's going to moderate our chat for us. So let's get right into it. Okay, so just some key points we're going to cover today. We're going to go over what is mindfulness, some benefits of mindfulness, what happens in your body, practicing mindfulness, give you 5 ways to practice at work, some strategies, and go through some different resources for y'all. Okay, I want to just start off with a little bit reflection, and feel free to unmute yourself and talk, or put it in the chat, or just silently reflect. We're all here because we want to learn about mindfulness. So what exactly does mindfulness mean to you? What are some reasons that you came to the presentation today? Everything, is going on. There's a lot of changes going on in our outside world, in our university. There's a lot of stress that we're all having. So what are some ways that you could use mindfulness in your life right now to help you cope what's going on in your own or in the right now? And I'll just say a little example. For me is, coming back into the semester is kind of crazy right now, especially right now being some online, some in person, not knowing. I get stressed out extremely easily. I feel like my to-do list never ends. I'm always adding tasks. So mindfulness is just really important for me to kind of just not overly stress about what is going on in my life. So I don't just am constantly worrying about what is next on my plate, what I have to do. As soon as I get done with this task, it's me taking one thing at a time. And that's why it's kind of important for me and why I practice.
So some of the things that are coming up in the chat is coming because things are stressful right now. They're scary right now. There's a lot of uncertainty regarding work, kids, school, and there's a lot that's out of our control.
Yes.
I definitely identify with that. Another one is I need constant reminders to be mindful, to breathe. So this kind of information is always good to remind me of how beneficial being mindful can be. I wrote that. It's definitely something that's not natural for me, so I need the reminders to stop and just be for a minute. Another person mentioned setting aside the stress and work and not bringing that home, or understanding that we can't fix all of the students' problems or our coworkers' problems or our family's problems, that we're just one person. Learning how to lay things down and not carry them around was another response.
Those are all great responses, and definitely mindfulness can help with all of those things. So let's start with just talking about what is mindfulness. Let's start at the beginning. So mindfulness is the basic human ability to be fully present in the moment. It's being aware of where you are, what you're doing, not being overly reactive or overwhelmed with what's going on around you. It's a physical and it's a mental state. It involves acceptance, paying attention to our thoughts and feelings without judging them. We want to feel our feelings, and it's a overall just state of being. So going on to another reflection. Wait a second, this is going backwards. Ha ha ha. It's an overall state of being, like I said.
So since we have kind of introduced mindfulness, now we'll kind of go into a little bit of the benefits. So practicing mindfulness provides both personal and professional benefits. The professional benefits kind of contribute more to worksite wellness, which focuses on improving workplace concentration, which adds creativity to work, and that can lead to greater efficiency, productivity, and teamwork. What I have listed here is more so personal benefits. So practicing mindfulness improves overall well-being, physical health, and mental health. So starting with mental health, because it determines how we handle stress. Mindfulness allows us to ultimately take a step back, analyze our situation, put things into perspective, which is us ultimately being in the present moment, okay, which we're going to emphasize a lot in this presentation. That's basically what mindfulness is. So now that we are taking a step back, analyzing our situation and not just reacting without any thought, this allows us to feel more in control of our situation, even though it might feel extremely stressful, which ultimately leads to reducing stress and anxiety that our bodies feel, which Kristen will touch on in the upcoming slides. But ultimately, all these factors contribute to a satisfied and healthy life.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, so just another quick reflection, and again, feel free to unmute yourselves, put it in the chat, or just silently reflect. How do you feel when you get stressed or anxious? So I know for me personally, it's my stomach. My gut stomach relationship, that brain axis it just goes all haywire. I am sick for days. And it's not fun, it's overwhelming and it causes even more stress and anxiety. I know, for example, my mom gets tension headaches when she's stressed and overwhelmed. Tension in the neck and the shoulder area is another huge one.
I know for me, I hold a lot of stress in my upper body, so I'm like super tense. I also start sweating profusely.
Mm-hmm.
We've got in the chat tense, lack of patience, heartburn, increased heart rate, all the heart problems. I know for me personally too, I definitely feel like Monica said, like especially when I've done some mindfulness practice before, you hear someone say like lower your shoulders and unclench your jaw, and I don't even realize that they're up or they're tight until someone says relax your shoulders. I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice that I was tensing them. So that's.
Mm-hmm. And I feel it especially in that whoever said being impatient and kind of being quick to jump on other people. It's not my proudest moment, but it does happen, especially if that someone is asking me to do something else on my never-ending to-do list. So I'm going to go into talking a little bit about how our body's reaction, but I do have this other question to pose, and it's how might our responses be different if we used our parasympathetic nervous system to react? And if you didn't know, our parasympathetic nervous system is our rest and digest system. It's going to decrease our heart rate. It's going to calm our body down when we're in these situations. And I'm going to, again, go into this a little bit more, but it's feeling these emotions and really feeling these emotions and thinking about how we're going to react. It's not just full on reacting. So, how could our responses be different to stress if we use this nervous system instead of our fight or flight response that is going to get us high and is going to get us going?
One way for me personally, I'm not very, my parasympathetic nervous system doesn't, that's not my body's natural reaction. It's something that I have to work on through mindfulness, through therapy, through other tools and strategies. But I think about it in this way sometimes. Like, have you ever reacted to a situation and then later on that night, you're like laying in bed or you're thinking about it and you're like, oh, like this could have been done differently, or now I can process it and see how, this could have been better or worse or handled differently. Like you just have more time to kind of reflect on that. And to me, that's what I think about the parasympathetic system of my brain. That if I'm able to activate that and learn via mindfulness or other tools how to tap into that part of my brain, I can maybe pause more in the moment so that I respond in a way that I'm more proud of. Like, if it's something that's made me upset or angry, or in times of stress, I can feel that in my body and learn to relax and practice some tools. So that's one way that I think about the parasympathetic.
And I completely understand that. My mama always says that my downfall is that I am too Southern, so I'm quick to react with my mouth. And sometimes, you lay in bed at night and you do think that I could have handled this differently. I could have said something else. So definitely mindfulness can help with these situations and can help us really dive into our parasympathetic nervous system so we can think about our emotions and not make quick reactions. Oh, that doesn't work for me to press that. And I'm so sorry about this typo that I just saw on the slide, you guys. Okay, so just some more reactions in the body to talk about. So we have two nervous systems. We have our sympathetic and our parasympathetic. Our sympathetic is that fight or flight where your heart rate increases, our breathing increases, our blood pressure increases. And that is most people's reaction to stress or being overwhelmed. Again, the parasympathetic is that rest or digest where your heart rate decreases, you're breathing slower and deeper, your blood pressure is decreasing, and you kind of are feeling like you can take that moment. So mindfulness really stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. And here are just some different ways to practice mindfulness. And Monica is going to go through some of these ways to practice while you're at work, but just some really quick ways. Some deep breathing. Meditation is a great tool to use. Deep listening and listening without having a response. Journaling, which is something that I do. I love to journal. Gentle movement, being creative. Food is another great way to be mindful that people don't necessarily think of. When you're eating your snack or taking your break or taking your lunch break, really focus on your food in front of you. Really focus on how it tastes, how it feels. Having a mantra or just, a saying to say when times get stressful, being out in nature, and practicing gratitude, in which I said Monica is going to go through and talk about all of this and some of these a little bit more.
And Kristen, I'll just say that slide right there is one of my favorites, because I think oftentimes we put mindfulness in this, or maybe it's just me, but I hear this oftentimes too through people we interact with through this position or other friends of mine, that we think about mindfulness as this really big thing sometimes. Like, I need to carve out this amount of time. And there are, there are studies that show that, really when we start getting to that, 20, 30 minutes of mindfulness a day, we start to see tremendous health benefit. But it doesn't negate the little bits that we do throughout the day and the benefit that can have in the immediate. And those little bits really help long term and kind of help us get to like the larger overall like sense of well-being. And so for me, sometimes when I think about mindfulness, my mind automatically goes to needing to sit somewhere that's quiet, needing to breathe, needing to be free from distraction. And one thing I like about this is that it shows that that's not true at all. That's part of it. There's meditation, there's breathing, deep listening, but that also it can just be in our daily life activities. So as I'm taking a walk through campus, instead of thinking of like every little thing that needs to do coming up or just being distracted, but actually like maybe taking the minute to notice that the air feels really cool this morning and the sky is really blue. Just those are little bits throughout the day that help stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system. So this slide is great because I think it really can speak to a lot of different types of people, and that you kind of get to choose. Again, that's sort of our saying, choosing the wellness that you desire. It's not, a place that we're trying to steer you into. It's that you really have control over the way that you want to practice your own mindfulness journey.
Yeah, and one way, thanks for bringing that up, Steph. And one way that I try to practice it every day, and it, like Steph said, it is just that short little bout of mindfulness, is setting intentions when I wake up for my day. I tried that to be the first thing that I do in the morning, is just set, 3 intentions. I wake up and I say, this is what I want to accomplish today. This is what I'm going to do today. And my last one is always that I'm going to make this a good day today. So no matter what happens during the day, at the end of the day, I can go back and say, I accomplished these things. Yeah, some things might have happened that weren't so great or made me feel bad, but overall, this is what I got done today and this is what I did. So like Steph said, it doesn't have to be a 30, 40-minute routine that you have to completely step out of your way and get ready for. Of course, there are mindfulness activities that are like that and that take that much time, but there's also just short 1-minute breathing exercises, writing down the 3 things that you're grateful for throughout the day, writing someone a thank you note, which we're going to talk about later. There are short ways to practice mindfulness that are easy to fit in everyone's schedules.
Yeah, to piggyback kind of off what both of you said, I know like when I think of mindfulness, I automatically go to meditating. And just seeing the slide is really informative to know that you're not stuck to one practice. There's so many different options if you want to, explore a little bit.
Yeah. So
I think it goes back to our definition of mindfulness, that it's just the ability to be present where you're at. So whatever that means.
So we have a great little short guided breathing exercise for everyone to practice. Perfect. Let me just share the screen, and feel free, if you don't want to do it on camera, to take your camera off, whatever you're comfortable with. Can everyone hear this okay?
Close your eyes.
Perfect.
And find a comfortable position. During this brief meditation, I'll ask you to pay attention to what's happening inside your body right now. You'll find that you don't have to change anything. Just observe. Direct your attention towards your stream of thoughts. What thoughts are traveling through your mind right now? Can you give them a name? Notice your feelings. What feelings are present in your body in this moment? Maybe sadness, curiosity, anger. If you can, try to give them a name. Try to notice if there are other kinds of sensations present in your body right now, like tingling, tension, vibrations. Just observe them and let them be. Now shift your focus and pay close attention to your breath. Notice how it feels to breathe in and breathe out. Try to give your breath your undivided attention for a few seconds. Lastly, try to expand your focus and take in the whole body. Notice that you're sitting here with your whole body. You become aware of your posture, your facial expression, your feelings and other sensations. Hold them in awareness, just as they are. Notice that you don't have to struggle to change anything. It's okay to let them be just as they are right now. When you feel ready, open your eyes and return to your session.
And like she said, just whenever you feel ready to come back into that present moment. Thank you guys so much for participating in that. I know it made me feel just a tad bit better. And how did that make you guys feel?
I'll jump in and go. I think that when it's shorter in this way, it makes it feel more doable for me. Like I've tried yoga before, and I've tried to like do like meditation and something and things like that before, but it always feels like my mind is like, I have a to-do list, a running to-do list that I would like to I would like to write down. So doing it more short made me feel more connected, and knowing that like it wasn't for a full hour made it feel more manageable for me.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you. And that goes back to that other slide where we can just take little short bits of mindfulness to do throughout our day whenever we just have a moment.
I think Alicia brought up a good point too about how that we have to find the types of mindfulness that works for us. And sometimes it's good to have these reminders to breathe that are short. But, some people might like, coloring or journaling and focusing on their breath as they're coloring or as they're, journaling or taking a walk. We'll send a resource list out to you all after the end of this presentation, and it has some everything from apps to websites to things that are on YouTube like this, where there's a range of everything from 30-second to more of those 30-minute guided breathing and guided imagery examples or practices that you can practice alongside of. Because I agree, I think especially starting out, I think it's very hard just to jump into, or for a lot of people it can be very hard just to jump into, something that might last longer than just a few minutes. So that was a really, I appreciate you sharing that, and a good point to bring up too.
Now
we had someone in the chat too, just real quick, mention that during the practice, it relaxed me. It helped me notice tension, good, and pain that you don't want to sit with that. So, noticing what's going on in your body and what areas you want to focus on, like noticing that there's pain, and then also noticing areas of tension that you can relax and maybe can distract from that pain, or sitting in that pain for a minute and thinking about where it's coming from and maybe how you can manage that. But it's just being and having that thought, acknowledging it, and then placing it somewhere for the time being.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for sharing that. And now
Right.
Monica.
Well, now that we all feel a little bit more energized, we'll go into some ways that you can practice at work. So here's just a brief overview. We will go into more detail on each one. So focusing on one thing at a time. So this involves avoiding distractions. So putting your phone in a location where you cannot see or hear it. If you easily get distracted when you're working on a task, just putting that somewhere where it's not in the way. Another way to focus on one thing at a time would be to avoid multitasking. So even though it might seem faster or efficient, it can lead to even more stress, which can ultimately be avoided. So if you're the type of person, if you're working on a task and you like to, surf the web, a good tool to use to kind of prevent that is focus time. Again, setting a timer, and taking a meaningful break kind of go hand in hand. So you can literally Google a timer and you can choose to put in a time how long you want to work on a task. I have used this in the past and it's worked really good for me. I normally do like 20 minutes on, 5 off. That kind of helps me not to do myself, overwork my brain, kind of gives me a break, and I feel a little bit more efficient in the work that I'm trying to do. And again, giving yourself a meaningful break. So after you finish the task at hand, giving yourself some time to regroup before jumping to something else is very important. So this one is very challenging. So how to accept things that you cannot change. So again, the first point, which we have emphasized a lot during this presentation, is being in the moment. So accepting things you cannot change. So some things to think about is to remind yourself that in this moment in time, it is not permanent. Your feelings around the situation will constantly change. It's okay to do small steps. In the moment, the situation might feel awful, but you can create your own timeline. It's okay to realize that you're stuck in a feeling of despair, and we have resources to help you. For example, health coaching. If you have a goal in mind to kind of shift your mindset, we definitely have that resource for you. But there are ways to progress to accepting things that we cannot change, and that is thinking about things that you can control, which is ultimately how we think and how we react to a situation. Those are the only two things that you can control. You cannot control how someone reacts or anything like that. So practicing gratitude. So gratitude allows us to recognize good in our lives, which I think we could all benefit from, especially in the time that we're in right now. So just a quick question. You can feel free to put it in the chat or unmute yourself, but how do you practice gratitude? This can be in the workplace. This can be at home. Does anyone care to share some examples? I have an example here at the workplace. If you're still, in your office, putting up a dry erase board where people can write on it positive things that can be very uplifting to see.
I will share briefly. I didn't realize that this was a part of mindfulness, but I do this a lot. Whenever I think of somebody that I care about and I'm thankful for something that they do for me, whether that's just being there when I need something or needing me sometimes, I will just send them a text right then, thanks for being you. Thank you for being a part of my life, whatever that might be. But I always just whip out my phone and I text them right there.
That's awesome. It's good that you were able to make that connection. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
I try to appreciate the small things. So like I like, especially because we've been working on campus for the past month in our office. I like what I call twinkle lights, but they're really just Christmas lights. Like I like the ambiance that creates, and so my boyfriend actually has been working from home, and so like every time I come home, he has the twinkle set up, and it's like a candle that I like, and I'm like, thank you for thinking of me because like you didn't have to do this, but that little small thing is like, first of all, this is why I love you, and also God, it just feels like it's a breath of fresh air when you come home, and it kind of creates that feeling of just being like at home and be able to relax a lot sooner rather than coming home and spending 30-45 minutes cleaning something or running around. It definitely, that always helps to kind of just notice those little small things and just kind of give being grateful in that moment.
Absolutely.
I love that. I love just thinking of like those little reminders and how you know a person and how someone can feel appreciated. When we were talking about this presentation the other day, the three of us, I was saying for me sometimes it's hard to even remember to pick up like a journal to write in to practice gratitude, even though I've bought gratitude journals in the past. So sometimes for me, it's like a post-it note system where it's like I have like a set of post-it notes that are, next to my bed or at my desk or wherever. And I just know that these, pink post-it notes are where I just jot down three things whenever I think about it that I'm grateful for that day. So in that moment, that helps me at least have that reflection. I have a friend who she keeps a dry erase, or I think it's a dry erase or some kind of like window marker attached to the mirror that she gets ready in the morning. She's just got it like on a little command strip attached, like with a string. And she writes, she's like, I don't do it every day, but she's like, just as I think about it, what I'm grateful for on my mirror. Or sometimes she's like, it's not necessarily what I'm grateful for, but it might be like a mantra or a quote or a scripture that just speaks to her. So she uses that, which I thought was kind of fun. And then later on, I think Monica's going to talk a little bit about apps, but there's other things that we can use that will like send you prompts to your phone or text that you can literally just text back three things that you're grateful for. So again, it's just kind of like with figuring out what mindfulness practice works for us. I think it's the same thing with practicing gratitude. We have to figure out which way resonates most with us and that we want to both feel gratitude and also show gratitude.
Thank you all for sharing. So the last of the 5 points of practicing at work is being present. So again, celebrating the tiny joys, like some of you mentioned, and victories. Listening without intending to respond. This could be when a coworker is trying to talk to you about something. If you're listening to respond, your mind is going to start kind of wandering off, and it's almost like you're not having really an authentic presence, or really kind of listening to what they're saying. So listening to your body and feel your feelings kind of go hand in hand. So this involves processing and acknowledging your emotions. This takes a lot of patience and practice. An example of this is what we just did previously with that meditation. Some of you that maybe haven't done that before, it might have been uncomfortable for you because you're like, okay, I really don't know what to do. Just be patient with it, because with meditation, it allows you to ultimately, you can have a body scan. So starting from your head, going down to your toe, just analyzing how your body is feeling, how it's reacting. Again, in situations that we can't control, acknowledging, okay, how's my body feeling? Are my muscles super, super tense? Are they relaxed? Is my heart rate out of the roof? Those are just some examples of those two things. And then the last point, reflect on your day. Again, a good way to reflect is by journaling. This provides you the opportunity to have positive self-talk, and it can also help you identify any negative thoughts that you might need to change about how you view a situation or how you're thinking about things that are occurring in your day.
Okay, so just in summary, we have just going back over the basic definition of mindfulness, which is the basic human ability to be fully present in that moment. We went through some ways to practice mindfulness at home and during work, and just the benefits of being in that present moment. And, you know, it's all about helping you achieve the wellness that you desire through everyone has different mindfulness activities that works for them, and that's going to be all independent, and it's finding what works for you and what makes you feel good. So just we want to end going through some resources that are all available for all of you. So Healthy UNCG, we are UNCG's employee health and wellness initiative. We're here to support you in achieving the wellness that you desire. Whether that is mindfulness, whether it's physical activity, healthy eating. This is geared towards mindfulness, and there are lots of resources on our website that can help you achieve those things. So Fitness Lending Library is one resource that not everyone thinks of when it comes to mindfulness. If you don't know, Fitness Lending Library is a program through us at Healthy UNCG where employees can check out exercise and wellness equipment. And we also have mindfulness CDs, DVDs that you can check out to kind of help you go through this guided imagery, guided breathing meditation. I don't know exactly what is on those DVDs, but it's a 3-part DVD set, I believe. That
Yeah, we have some DVDs that are like where you're sitting with someone who practices, but we also have several CDs that you can take and download onto your computer. John Kabat-Zinn is one of the leaders in mindfulness, and so he has had a couple of different mindfulness CDs that we've added to our library with everything from guided imagery, breathing, body scan, and gosh, I'm trying to think how many we have of his, but it's quite a few there. And then I'll also put some of his stuff in the resource list that you'll get following this presentation.
Perfect.
We also have cushions that we will be using later. We'll talk about Cobra in a minute. So next semester, depending on how things look with COVID, we're hoping to have some in-person mindfulness sessions. But as of right now, if you are looking for a meditation cushion or yoga mat, blocks, things that might help you be more comfortable as you start to practice, we can help you with some of those resources as well through that lending library.
Thanks. And then as Steph said, we also have Kyrie Mindfulness Workshop coming up. So that's going to be starting on September 14th, and it's going to be from 11 to 12:15. And that's going to take place for 4 weeks. It's once a week for 4 weeks, every Tuesday at that time period. And Koru is a great beginning workshop in learning about mindfulness and building mindfulness and learning tools to help. Building resiliency is something that I think about when I think of Koru. Stress reduction, everything like that. It's a great program.
And one thing I'll mention about Koru, so this workshop is being taught by a trained mindfulness instructor. Her name's Anne Grimaldi. She's also a UNCG employee, and she has been a Koru mindfulness participant, I guess you'd say, for years. And she'll share her story in the workshop. But then she was trained about 2 years ago. And so one of the things that she's done for us is started holding these workshops for employees. We've had them for students through Anne for the past couple of years, but she was really gracious to offer those to employees as well. So she's doing an employee-only Koru workshop. Again, like Kristen said, it's 4 weeks. We did one in the spring that I participated in, and it was really wonderful. If you want to have some hands-on type practice, this one's going to be virtual, like the one in the spring. So you'll get online from 11 to 12:15. It is a little over an hour. And the way that the format works is maybe the first 15 minutes, you're learning about the type of practice that you're going to engage in that day. And so she's talking a little bit more about, I would say, a deeper look into what we talked about today, but then also she goes through some specific types of mindfulness practice and how each one is beneficial for that particular way that you're practicing mindfulness that day. So maybe it's clarity, maybe it's focus, maybe it's stress relief. They do a food mindfulness experience in the workshop. So you'll get quite a variety, and then you practice together, similar to today, cameras off, you go through the practice and you build up over time. So it starts with very short mindfulness meditation practices, and then you build up over the course of the four weeks. At the end, you come back together and you just discuss. And so it was really nice. The class size is very limited because of we want to keep it small where people are comfortable sharing. So there's a limit of 12 in that class. I think there's about 9 slots left. We just opened it up on Monday. So I'll put the link in the chat for that if you're something you're interested in. And then in addition, with the Career Mindfulness Workshop, you get access to a couple of resources just for the people who have gone through the workshop. So Anne has some more in-depth mindfulness books in PDF. You also have access to an app that's very similar to, I would compare it to like a Calm or Headspace app. So you'll have access to that indefinitely. And so that was something that Help the UNCG is sponsoring this year. So again, we're going to run it again in the spring. So if you don't, have a chance to make it this time, it is something that we're going to hopefully continue to offer. So I'll throw that link in there, and just wanted to give a little bit more explanation about what to expect from that 4-week workshop.
Thanks. And then as employees, you also have access to UNCG's Employee Assistance Program, UNCG Student Health Services, which I know we're not students, we're employees, but they also have mindfulness sessions and activities that anyone can join. And Monica's going to tell you a little bit about some different gratitude apps that can help with mindfulness as well.
Yeah, so if your way of practicing mindfulness involves journaling, and you don't want to go out and buy a journal, there are definitely several gratitude apps that I'm sure are free to download. But if you're like me and it takes a little bit more, or it's challenging to remember to write things down, I like to use the Calm app to meditate. They're kind of on the longer side, but they have a lot of different meditations on there. There are a couple that are free, but if you want to get the whole thing unlocked, you have to pay for it. They have sleep meditation stories. I haven't done those, but I've done the actual meditations, and I use them before I go to sleep, and they really help you knock out, like no joke. They are free to download, so if you're interested in that, that is a good resource to use.
Yeah, and like Steph said, we will be sending out all of these on a resource list at the end. Once our recording, gets to us and everything, we'll send all that out with some links. So it's available to all of you and those who signed up that couldn't make it today. Again, just thank you so much for being here today and being in this present moment with us. You're practicing mindfulness, go you. And just talking with us today and just being here and taking a second out of your busy schedule to do something that benefits you and to really take the time out of the day for you. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to unmute, drop them in the chat below. But thank you so much for being here today. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your week and a great rest of your day.
Thanks for coming, guys.